All right, so what we have here are angle grinders. So named because the motor's this way, and then the cutting tool is at an angle.
I should say the arbor is at a right angle to the motor.
So these are three different sizes. This is a 4.5 inch. That's the diameter of the disc. This is a 6 inch, although this disc is worn down. Both of these are aluminum oxide bonded wheels. This one has a thinner cutting disc. So this one is used for cutting through metal. This one has a thicker disc for grinding, and this is a 7 inch. It's a big, heavy beast. So this would be great if you need that power. But if you're going to do a lot, most of you won't probably need to do this for your smaller projects. But if you needed to, it's a nice thing to have. But right now it's just really heavy. So it can wear you out. So I'm going to talk about this little 4.5 inch one. And this doesn't look exactly like the ones we have at school. Some of the ones at school have a trigger here with a safety switch. This one has a little click right here. But essentially it has the same tool. Let me get this guy out of the way. So before we go into using it, one, you have a handle here that can be moved from there to there, either side, so you can hold it over there. What you want to remember to do is have this guard located where it needs to be. You want it to protect your hand. You want your hand back here should be protected by the guard and away from the wheel. And your hand over here should be protected by the guard. If this is flipped around any other way, this one has a screw. You can undo it and slide it. Some of the ones we have at school have a clip. Sometimes move them, so you wouldn't want to have this exposed over here so that your hand, even with a glove on, and I go back and forth, depends on what I'm doing. But you don't want a loose thing that could get caught in there. If your glove is, say if you have those big heavy welding gloves on, you don't want to use those, especially because they're kind of loose and they could get caught in there and pull your hand in. But even with the glove on, this will go right through you'll make a little notch through the glove and into your finger. So the gloves don't protect you against grinding discs or cutting blades. They protect you from sharp edges and heat and sparks, but there's a limit, so don't think you're indestructible. Anyway, so the switch is on this side. It also has this button here, which is an arbor stop. So this rotates. Actually, it's going to rotate that way when we're working. You can see this one has an arrow pointing that way. So when I use it, I'm not flat down like this. I'm up at an angle. I'm not going to stand on that. But to change this disc with this particular type, I push in on that button and it locks the arbor. Now, you don't want to do that if you are running the tool. Don't have the power on and trying to hit that button. It's like slamming your brake on. You're going to grind away in the shaft, and that arbor lock won't work anymore. This particular disc is a flap wheel, it's a sanding disc. So that's more gentler than some of our grinding discs, which look like this. This one's a little worn, and it's a heavier, kind of thicker, and it's that aluminum oxide bonded material, and that'll wear down over time. And part of the reason you want to have a dust mask on, we talked about some safety stuff, face shield, safety glasses, ear protection. But the dust mask, as you're grinding the metal, you're going to be creating metal dust, obviously, but also this stuff is wearing away. So the stuff that cuts into the metal, you're going to breathe that in. You don't want to do that. So I suggest wearing a dust mask when you do a lot of grinding. Anyway, so to change this, to put this one on there, say we don't want this one right now, we want this one, we need a wrench, with this particular brand anyway. There's some different setups. Some of our ones have the wrench that's it's connected right in the handle, so it's kind of easy to find. The rest of them are probably hanging up inside the cabinet. I believe it's cabinet 8. So sometimes you have to find the right one. This is a set of pins that fit those. So I can slide that over there. If I turn this, I got that locked. I want to go, let's see, I'm upside down. Loosen, so as I'm looking at it, I'm going counterclockwise to loosen. Okay, so I'm going to take that off there. Now, one thing you notice is this has kind of a lip here and not a lip there. Right, so this is one of those thinner cutting discs. I'm going to put this on eventually, don't worry. But one thing I want to make sure you understand, if you're putting a cutting disc on, and you put this end down with that, and make sure it gets fitted in there. A lot of times it won't tighten enough. Generally speaking, for most of our grinders at school, you want to have it down like that. Maybe not this one. This one's actually got a better design. But the ones at school, this one has an inset here for it to set into. My whole lesson is gone. But generally, it'll say this side for 1/4-inch discs, which is the thicker disc. So check that. Make sure that this is secure. So thinner discs, usually have to flip this over. So with this one, we want to make sure that, again, we want to make sure that tab is down, and that we're not off center. We want to make sure, as we bring it down, come on, Junior. There we go. We get it set, and it sits right. I can kind of hold that button and turn this. I can tighten it too, or you can do a little bit. You don't want to go crazy, just a little snugly tightened. Okay? You don't need to like, and, oh, very important, the whole time I'm doing that, this is unplugged. You don't want to accidentally click on the switch and have that turn and gouge into you, or even, maybe slightly worse, if this was sitting on there, you hit the switch, this goes flailing around and flies off and hits somebody. Okay? So make sure anytime you change a belt or a disc or blade or anything, you unplug it. Alright? So, we have our angle grinder. I have some protection on my arms. Alright, so we're going to use the angle grinder to do some grinding away some of these welds. And we've got a dust mask on, safety glasses, and a face shield. I also got some protection on my arms from the sparks and such. Different times you don't want to have gloves on, and it's kind of questionable. If they don't fit well, if they're big and floppy, they could get caught in these areas here. So you just want to be careful to keep your fingers away from there. Now, a big part of that is this guard. You don't want to have the guard removed. The guard should always be there, and as I was saying some other ones, it should be where it protects your hands. So it should be in a hand here and here. Both hands should be on here. You should never be doing anything. You shouldn't be hand holding something and grinding on it where your glove could get caught, or it could just drive it into your hand. The gloves will not stop this grinder from going through them. Okay? So never hand hold something with one hand and do it with the other. Both hands should be on the grinder. Alright? So, and when we're grinding, we're not flat down like that. We're up at an angle. And I'm going to kind of grind some of these welds away and maybe shape a little bit there. And also it's going to shoot sparks. You want to make sure that there's no flammables in the area. Anything where you're doing where you're creating sparks, you want to make sure no dry leaves, paper, gasoline-soaked rags. None of that should be around. Alright, you can see how that's grinding away the material. So now we're going to use the cutting disc with the angle grinder. Got a pretty good guard on this that keeps me, I don't want my hand there, not back here. And if it's loose enough that it's caught in there, don't do it. So when you're cutting with a cutting disc, and I want to take this rod off of this plate, I'm going to come along and bring it in. So I'm going to start it, get it moving, and I'm going to bring it in. I don't want to twist like this. I'll bind that up and either catch and flip the tool, or I'll just destroy the disc. These can just fall apart. Face it. So that's the cutting disc. Dust mask is really good too.